see him in these hands sometimes, in the lines across my skin, in the way I hold a coffee cup before the day begins, in the scar below my knuckle from a job I should have planned. I see more than age and weather. I see the man behind these hands. He taught me how to tighten bolts, how to square a crooked frame, how to keep your word on Monday, even when no thanks came. He didn't talk in speeches, he didn't dress life up too grand, but he left a whole book written in the work of both his hands. The man behind these hands still shows me what to do when the road gets long and heavy, when the bills come due. He wasn't soft with language, but I came to understand love can live a lifetime in the man behind these hands. I used to think he was just tired when he sat down after dark, boots still dusted from the gravel, and the day still on his heart. Now I know what he was carrying, now I know what made him stand. There was strength I couldn't measure in the man behind those hands. He could fix a busted screen door, patch a roof before the rain, make a broken engine turn once more, and never once complain. But the things he really gave me weren't the things that he repaired. They were patience, grit, and mercy, and a quiet way to care. The man behind these hands still shows me what to do when the road gets long and heavy, when the bills come due. He wasn't soft with language, but I came to understand love can live a lifetime in the man behind these hands. Some men leave you money, some men leave you land. Mine left me a way of living I can feel in how I stand. Every nail I drive in straight, every burden that I hold, every time I choose to stay, I feel his lesson taking hold. The man behind these hands is still with me today, in the work I try to finish, in the words I don't always say. And I don't need a monument or his name carved in the sand. I carry him each morning in the man behind these hands. The man behind these hands. The man behind these hands. I carry him each morning. The man behind these hands. His old work boots by the back door still hold the shape of him. Cracked brown leather, worn down heels, dust along the rim. Mama never threw them out, she just moved them to the side, like they might still need the morning, like he might still step inside. I remember how they sounded on the kitchen floor at 5, before the sun had found the fields, before the house came alive. He drank his coffee stand and pulled his jacket from the chair. Then those boots would cross the gravel into cold and working air. His old work boots walked through years I never saw, through the weight of raising children, through the pride of standing tall. They didn't shine like Sunday shoes, but they carried all his truth. A man can leave a whole life in his old work boots. There was mud from winter mornings, there was oil from factory floors, there was hayfield dust and sawdust from 100 little chores. I used to only see the dirt and the leather split in two. Now I see the miles he gave us and everything he had to do. Never called it sacrifice, he never made it sound that way. He just tied them up and left us with another honest day. And when supper hit the table and he bowed his tired head, those boots sat quiet by the doorway, saying things he never said. His old work walked through years I never saw, through the weight of raising children, through the pride of standing tall. They didn't shine like Sunday shoes, but they carried all his truth. A man can leave a whole life in his old work boots. They were heavy as a promise I was too young to enjoy. Now I know a pair of boots can teach a grown man how to stand when the road gets rough beneath him and the work is in his hands. His old work boots still sit there by the door, like a quiet kind of sermon, like a life worth working for. And I don't need to hear his voice to know what he would do. I learned the road of being a man his old work boots. His old work boots. His old work boots. I learned the road of being a man from his old work boots. I learned more from that pickup seat than any schoolroom ever told. With the window cracked in summer and the heater fighting cold, Daddy drove with one hand resting on the wheel worn smooth and gray. He'd speak when something mattered, then let silence have its say. He said, son, don't fear a hard day, fear a heart that won't stay true. Shake her hand like you mean it, finish what you said you'd do. Then he'd point across the pasture where the fence line met the trees, and somehow every mile we traveled put a lesson into me. Lessons from the pickup seat, rolling down those county roads. How to carry what life gives you, how to bend but not let go. He never called it teaching, but his words still talk to me. I learned how to be a man from lessons in that pickup seat. He taught me when to hold my tongue and when to stand up tall, how a man can say he's sorry without feeling small. He said money comes and money goes, but your name is yours to keep. Don't you trade it for a shortcut, don't you sell it off too cheap. Sometimes we hauled old lumber, sometimes feed sacks stacked up high. Sometimes we just drove nowhere under that white evening sky. I was young and barely listening, watching fence posts passing by. Now those words come back like headlights when the road gets dark at night. Lessons from the pickup seat, rolling down those county roads. How to carry what life gives you, how to bend but not let go. He never called it teaching, but his words still talk to me. I learned how to be a man from lessons in that pickup seat. That truck is probably rusting in some field behind a barn, but the things he said inside it still keep running in my heart. Every time I face a hard choice, every time I feel too weak, I hear gravel under tires and my father next to me. Lessons from the pickup seat still ride with me today. Through every turn I every price I paid. He gave me more than memories. He gave me roots down deep, and I still find my way back home through lessons from the pickup seat. Lessons from the pickup seat. Lessons from the pickup seat. I still find my way back home through lessons in that pickup seat.
Hammer on the wall still hangs above the bench, with a handle dark from years of work and a head with one small dent. Daddy kept it by the window where the morning light came through. Said a tool is only honest as the hand that tells it what to do. Used it on the fence line, used it on the porch, used it when the roof got tired and the rain came pushing north. He never swung it angry, never wasted what it knew. He could drive a nail in silence, like he had something to prove. The hammer on the wall still teaches, after all, how to build what needs building, how to stand when troubles fall. It ain't silver, it ain't shining, but I still hear its call, and everything worth holding from the hammer on the wall. I was just a boy beside him, holding nails in my left hand, trying hard to look grown up, trying hard to understand. He said, son, don't rush the striking, set it straight before you start. Most things break from carelessness long before they break apart. Now the shed is mostly quiet and the dust lies soft and gray, but I can smell the pine boards like he worked there yesterday. There are coffee rings and pencil marks and old plans he never drew, just a wall of simple tools and the life he hammered through. The hammer on the wall still teaches, after all, how to build what needs building, how to stand when troubles fall. It ain't silver, it ain't shining, but I still hear its call, and everything worth holding from the hammer on the wall. Some fathers leave instructions, some fathers leave advice. Mine left me a wooden handle and a way to measure life. Keep your aim steady, keep your temper small, and don't be scared of fixing what the years have let fall. The hammer on the wall still hangs there straight and tall, like a quiet kind of memory like my father's last good call. And when my own hands tremble, I reach back and recall the man who built a family with the hammer on the wall. The hammer on the wall. The hammer on the wall. The man who built a family with the hammer on the wall. What my father never said, he used to trouble me at night. He could fix a broken window, but he couldn't say things right. He'd stand there in the doorway with his cap held in his hand, like there was something in his chest he didn't know how to land. He never said, "I'm proud of you," in any easy way, but he showed up in the bleachers after working 12 that day. He never said, "I love you, son," like I needed him to do. But he left the porch light burning when I was late coming through. What my father never said, I finally understand. It was written in the calluses across his working hands. It was folded in the quiet. It was waiting by my bed. I spent half my life listening to what my father never said. He never talked about his worries, never named the weight he bore. But I saw it in the evenings when he leaned against the door. He'd ask me how the truck ran, or if I had enough gas. Small words standing in the places where the softer ones couldn't pass. Now I catch myself doing it with my own kids sometimes, holding back the deeper water with a joke or simple line. And I wonder if they hear me through the things I fail to say, if love can still reach someone in a quiet father's way. What my father never said, I finally understand.
It was written in the calluses across his working hands. It was folded in the quiet. It was waiting by my bed. I spent half my life listening to what my father never said. Some men are raised in silence, some hearts learn to hide, but that don't mean there's nothing burning warm inside. He gave me what he knew to give, the only way he could. And now the years have taught me that his silence still was good. What my father never said speaks louder every year. In every hard day I survive, in every choice made clear. He didn't leave me speeches, just a life that I can read. And I hear him now more plainly in the words he never freed. What my father never said, what my father never said, I hear him now more plainly in what my father never said.
The shed behind the house still leans against the wind, with a rusted latch and peeling paint, and daylight slipping in. There's a coffee can of old screws, there's a radio gone still, and a pencil line on every board from some job he meant to build. Daddy went there after supper, when the house got soft and low, not to leave us, not to hide there, just to let the quiet show. He'd sand a piece of cedar, or sharpen up a blade, and work out all his worries in the shavings that he made. The shed behind the house still smells like him somehow, like sawdust, oil, and summer heat, like sweat across his brow. It was never just old lumber, never just a place to work things out. He left a part of who he was in the shed behind the house. I used to watch him through the window with the yellow bulb turned on, his shadow moving slowly till the evening was almost gone. He'd come back in with tired shoulders and a calmer kind of face, like that little room of timber had helped him carry weight. Now I open up that old door and the hinges start to cry. There's his jacket on a nail, like he stepped out for a while. I run my hand across the workbench where the dust lies thin and gray, and I swear the whole place answers in its quiet Father's way. The shed behind the house still smells like him somehow, like sawdust, oil, and summer heat, like sweat across his brow. It was never just old lumber, never just a place to work things out. He left a part of who he was in the shed behind the house. Some men need a chapel, some men need a field, some men need a corner where the world can start to heal. He didn't speak his troubles, he didn't name his doubt. He just turned them into something useful in the shed behind the house. The shed behind the house still stands through every season, holding all the little things he never gave a reason. And when I need to feel him near, I know the way without a doubt. I find my Father waiting in the shed behind the house. The shed behind the house. The shed behind the house. I find my Father waiting in the shed behind the house. He had a Sunday shirt hanging clean behind the door, white with little pearl snaps and sleeves he'd worn before. Mama pressed it Saturday evening while the kitchen light burned low, and he'd lay his work week down like a coat he couldn't show. By morning he'd be standing with his hair combed back just right, hands still rough from Monday, but his collar buttoned tight. He never acted holy, never tried to sound too wise, but something in him softened when the church bell touched the sky. A Sunday shirt and a quiet prayer, that was how he met the morning. With worn out hands and silver hair, and a heart that carried more than warning. He didn't need a preacher's voice to teach me how to care. I learned a lot from watching a Sunday shirt and a quiet prayer. At dinner he'd bow slowly while the plates were passed around, and the whole room seemed to settle when his head was bending down. He didn't ask for riches, he didn't ask for ease, just strength enough for family and bread enough to eat. I was young and restless, counting cracks along the floor, wondering why a strong man had to lower himself more. Now I know that kind of quiet wasn't weakness, wasn't fear. It was how he held the heavy things and kept his spirit clear. A Sunday shirt and a quiet prayer, that was how he met the morning. With worn out hands and silver hair, and a heart that carried more than warning. He didn't need a preacher's voice to teach me how to care. I learned a lot from watching a Sunday shirt and a quiet prayer. Some lessons come with thunder, some lessons come with flame. This came soft as morning light and never asked for fame. He showed me faith was working hard and giving thanks at night, standing tall through 6 long days and kneeling out of sight. A Sunday shirt and a quiet prayer still come back when I need them. When life gets loud and hard to bear, and I'm searching for a reason, I close my eyes and see him there at the table, head laid bare, still teaching me with nothing but a Sunday shirt and a quiet prayer. A Sunday shirt and a quiet prayer. A Sunday shirt and a quiet prayer, still teaching me with nothing but a Sunday shirt and a quiet prayer. The way he fixed things was slow and sure and plain. He'd set the broken pieces down and study every strain. A radio with no sound, the screen door off its swing. He never cursed the trouble, he just looked inside the thing. He kept a coffee can of washers, a drawer of bolts and nails, Said most things ain't too broken if your patience doesn't fail. He'd rolled his sleeves up quiet, put his glasses on his face, and somehow all the scattered parts would find their proper place. The way he fixed things still comes back to me when life gets crossed and tangled and the answer's hard to see. Don't force what needs forgiving, don't rush what time can bring. I learned how to hold a family from the way he fixed things. He patched the roof in winter, kept the old truck running clean, made a kitchen chair quit rocking with a shim no one could see. But the thing I most remember was how he fixed a day when worry filled the whole house and money wouldn't stay. He'd sit down at the table with a pencil and the bills, not pretending it was easy, not pretending he had skill, just adding up the hard parts, making room where room was thin. And somehow by the morning we could all breathe once again. The way he fixed things still comes back to me when life gets crossed and tangled and the answer's hard to see. Don't force what needs forgiving, don't rush what time can bring. I learned how to hold a family from the way he fixed things. Now when my own world rattles and I feel the frame come loose, I hear his voice in silence saying, find the simple truth. Check the hinge, check the wire, check the heart before it breaks. Some repairs need steady hands and some need honest grace. The way he fixed things was more than wood and steel. It was how he faced the hurt, and it was how he taught us to heal. And every time I mend what's broken without making too much noise, I understand the quiet man I barely knew as a boy. The way he fixed things, the way he fixed things, I understand the quiet man. Through the way he fixed things. Coffee before sunrise, in a kitchen barely lit. Daddy at the table, with his elbows close to it. The house was still sleeping, but the day it found his name, he'd stare into that black cup like he could see the coming rain. His boots were by the doorway, his jacket on the chair, a lunchbox on the counter, and cold still in the air. He moved around so quietly, like he didn't want to wake the children he was working for before the morning broke. Coffee before sunrise, a strong man sitting still, gathering up the strength he'd need to climb another hill. He never called it loving us, he never made it sound that wise, but he gave his life in mornings and coffee before sunrise. I remember that old percolator hissing low and slow, the yellow bulb above him and the frost against the window. He'd rub one hand across his face, then button up his sleeve like he was putting on the courage that the rest of us would need. Back then I thought the morning was something that just came. Didn't know a man could need it with worry, work, and faith. Now I rise before my children, and I understand it more. When the quiet feels too heavy and the bills wait by the door, coffee before sunrise, a strong man sitting still, gathered up the strength he'd need to climb another hill. He never called it loving us, he never made it sound that wise, but he gave his life in mornings and coffee before sunrise. Some fathers leave you stories, some fathers leave you songs. Mine left me a kitchen table where a tired man stayed strong. And every early hour when the world is gray and white, I feel him sitting with me on the other side. Coffee before sunrise still warms the years between, still shows me what devotion was in that old familiar scene. A cup, a chair, a working man,
with sleep still in his eyes. He taught me love was showing up, with coffee before sunrise. Coffee before sunrise. Coffee before sunrise. Coffee before sunrise. He taught me love was showing up, with coffee before sunrise.
His name on the toolbox is scratched in faded black. 3 letters near the handle, where the red paint started to crack. It sits beneath the workbench, where he always kept it close, like a quiet little kingdom, full of things a working man knows. There's a wrench with worn out edges, there's a tape that barely rolls, there's a pocket knife he sharpened more times than I could know. There are nails in coffee cans, there are washers in a tin, and every drawer still opens, like he might reach back in. His name on the toolbox still means something to me. It means fix what you can fix and leave the rest with dignity. It means show up in the morning, it means do the best you do. There's a whole life sitting under his name on the toolbox. I used to watch him carry it out beside the old truck door, when some neighbor needed helping or the screen came loose once more. He never asked for payment, never made a heavy show, just wiped his hands on denim and said, that ought to hold. Now I keep it where he left it, though the years have settled in. Sometimes I lift the metal latch just to hear that sound again, and I swear I smell the sawdust and the oil upon the floor, like he's standing in the doorway saying, what you need that for? His name on the toolbox still means something to me. It means fix what you can fix and leave the rest with dignity. It means show up in the morning, it means do the best you do. There's a whole life sitting under his name on the toolbox. Some names shine on buildings, some get carved in stone. His was written on a box of tools in a corner of our home. But that name held a family through the weather and the years, through busted pipes and broken days, through worry, sweat and tears. His name on the toolbox still carries what he was. A steady hand, a quiet heart, a lifetime built on love. And when my own hands reach for it, I feel his hands there too, still teaching me from under. His name on the toolbox, his name on the toolbox, his name on the toolbox, still teaching me from under. His name on the toolbox. The tractor still starts after all these quiet years, with a cough of smoke and thunder that can bring my father near. It's parked beneath the rafters where the barn light falls in bars, red paint worn to rust and memory, but the tractor still starts. Daddy kept it running with wire grease and care. Said, take your time with old things, they'll last if you play fair. He knew every stubborn rattle, every belt that pulled too hard, like that engine was a neighbor he had known across the yard. The tractor still starts, and the whole field comes alive. I can see him in the morning with the sunlight in his eyes. One hand on the throttle, one hand steady on the wheel. Some men leave their lessons in the things that still feel real. The tractor still starts. I climbed up in that worn seat when I was just a boy, too small to reach the pedals, too proud to hide my joy. He'd laugh and let me steer it down the edge of planted rows, teaching me that patience is the way good harvest grows. Now the fields are mostly rented, and the fence leans to the side. The world moved past that old machine like it moved past slower times. But when I turn the key there and the engine shakes the dust, it feels like something faithful still remembers both of us. The tractor still starts, and the whole field comes alive. I can see him in the morning with the sunlight in his eyes. One hand on the throttle, one hand steady on the wheel. Some men leave their lessons in the things that still feel real. The tractor still starts. It ain't just steel and diesel, it ain't just gears and flame. It's every summer he worked through without asking for a name. It's every acre, every worry, every storm he had to face, still turning over gently, in that old familiar place. The tractor still starts, like a promise kept with time, like my father's way of saying, son, keep moving down the line. And I don't need to hear his footsteps to know he's never far. I find him in the fields again, when the tractor still starts. The tractor still starts. The tractor still starts. I find him in the fields again, when the tractor still starts. That old fishing spot down past Miller's lower field still sits below the sycamores where the muddy water stills. Daddy kept a coffee can full of worms behind the seat, and a tackle box that rattled like a song beneath my feet. We'd get there before the sunlight had climbed above the trees. He'd hand me down a cane pole and say, cast soft and easy. He never cared much for talking when the river looked that way, but somehow in the quiet I heard every word he'd say. That old fishing spot still holds the best of him, in the ripple of the water, in the shade along the bend. We didn't catch much supper, but I caught what can't be bought, a father's heart in silence, at that old fishing spot. Taught me how to wait there, how to let the line run slow, how some things come from patience and some things you let go. He said, son, don't fight the current, just learn where it turns deep. A man can wear himself out pulling what the Lord don't mean to keep. Now the bank is grown with briars and the path is hard to find. The old bridge has lost a railing and the world has changed its mind. But I still go there sometimes with his rod across my knees, and I feel him in the morning moving softly through the leaves. That old fishing spot still holds the best of him, in the ripple of the water, in the shade along the bend. We didn't catch much supper, but I caught what can't be bought, a father's heart in silence, at that old fishing spot. Some boys learn from shouting, some boys learn from books. I learned from muddy water and the way my father looked out across that quiet river, like he knew what life would bring. and trusted there was wisdom in every waiting thing. That old fishing spot still calls me now and then, when the years get loud and heavy and I need his voice again. I don't go there for the fishing or the fish we never caught. I go to sit beside him at that old fishing spot. That old fishing spot. That old fishing spot. I go to sit beside him at that old fishing spot. One more ride down County Road 8, past the mailbox, leaning west, past the field he used to cut for hay when summer did its best. I'd roll the window halfway down, let the warm dust climb inside, and hear him say, take this one slow. There's gravel on the right. That road knew every season that my father ever wore, from young man days with empty hands to gray hair at the door. He drove it tired in winter, he drove it proud in spring, with a lunchbox on the floorboard and 1,000 quiet things. One more ride down County Road 8, with my father by my side, past the farms that raised his backbone, past the years he tried to hide. I don't need a map to find him, I don't need to name the date, I just need the evening falling on County Road 8. There's a bend beside the creek bed where he taught me not to rush. Said the road will tell you something if you listen long enough. There's a gate he fixed one autumn, there's a barn he helped to raise, there's a house he never bragged on, but he built in better days. Last time that we drove it, he was quieter than before. His hands were folded easy like they didn't work no more. I kept talking about the weather just to keep my heart in place, while he looked out at the pasture with a far-off
miss my father by my side. Past the farms that raised his backbone, past the years he tried to hide. I don't need a map to find him, I don't need to name the date. I just need the evening falling on County Road 8. Some roads are only blacktop, some roads are only clay. Some roads keep the footsteps of the men who passed that way. And every fence post, every ditch line, every field beyond the pines still carries something of him that the years can't leave behind. One more ride down County Road 8. Even if I ride alone, I can feel it in the silence, like he's telling me, head home. And when the sun drops low enough, the past don't feel so late. He's still riding there beside me down County Road 8. One more ride down County Road 8. One more ride down County Road 8. He's still riding there beside me down County Road 8.
The chair beside the window still faces toward the yard where the evening used to find him after days that ran too hard. He'd sit there with his sleeves rolled and his boots still by the door, looking out past the maple tree like he could see something more. There was coffee on the table, there was dust along his jeans, there were lines across his forehead from a life of honest means. He didn't ask for quiet, but the room would give it then, like the whole house understood him when the day came walking in. The chair beside the window still holds the shape of him in the worn-out arms and faded cloth where the sunset settles in. He never said what weighed him down, he never said what he had been through, but I learned to read my father in the chair beside the window. I used to think he watched the road for no good reason there, just a tired man at evening with silver in his hair. Now I know he counted blessings, now I know he carried names. Now I know a man can love a house by sitting still inside its frame. Sometimes I would sit near him, not knowing what to say. He He'd ask about my ball game or how school had gone that day. Small words, simple questions, but they kept the distance thin. And I'd give most anything now to hear him ask again. The chair beside the window still holds the shape of him, in the worn-out arms and faded cloth where the sunset settles in. He never said what weighed him down, he never said what he had been through. But I learned to read my father in the chair beside the window. Some men build their families with a hammer and a name. Some men guard the evening like a low and steady flame. He gave us more than shelter, more than work and daily bread. He gave us all the safety of his silence in that chair. The chair beside the window still catches golden light, like he might come in from working and sit down there tonight. And when my own days turn heavy, I know what I must do. I sit and face the fading sun in the chair beside the window. The chair beside the window. The chair beside the window. I sit and face the fading sun in the chair beside the window. The things he left behind were scattered through the house. A ring of keys, a pocket knife, an old coat on the couch, a watch that quit at midnight, a cap with sweat-stained lines, little pieces of a working man. The years could not unwind. There were pencils in the junk drawer with his teeth marks near the end. A list of things to fix one day that he never touched again. There were receipts from feed stores, there was oil beneath his nails, there were boots that held more road dust than any story tells. The things he left behind still speak without a sound in the corners of the kitchen, in the shed and all around. But the best of what he gave me wasn't something I could find. It was living in the man I am, the things he left behind. Mama kept his Sunday jacket hanging where it always hung. said she couldn't bear to move it while the grief was still so young. I found a note inside the pocket, just a name and number there, but I held it like a letter, like it had his breath to spare. I used to think inheritance was land or silver rings, something locked in paper or divided up in things. Now I know a father's leaving has a deeper kind of weight. It's the way you face a hard day, it's the promises you make, the things he left behind still speak without a sound in the corners of the kitchen, in the shed and all around. But the best of what he gave me wasn't something I could find. It was living in the man I am, the things he left behind. Some are made of leather, some are made of steel, some are just old memories that time forgot to steal. But some are made of backbone, some are made of grace, some are in the way I stand when trouble finds my place. The things he left behind are more than I first knew, more than coats and pocket knives, more than worn out boots. Every time I keep my word, every time I choose what's right, I carry on the quiet gift of the things he left behind, the things he left behind. I carry on the quiet gift of the things he left behind. Dust on his workbench lies soft as falling snow. Across the old pine surface where his hands used to go, there's a ruler by the window, there's a square against the wall, and a coffee can of rusted nails. He somehow knew them all. A pencil line still waits there, halfway down a board, like he meant to cut it Monday, like he'd be back once more. The radio don't play now, the yellow bulb is dim, every quiet corner still remembers him. Dust on his workbench, where the morning light comes through, on the tools he held a lifetime, on the things he meant to do. I don't wipe it all away, I just stand there in the hush. There's a whole life resting gently in that workbench dust. He built shelves for the kitchen, fixed the legs on Mama's chair, made a cradle for my sister, with a patience plain and rare. He could take a piece of lumber, rough and bowed and stained, and turn it into something that could hold against the rain. I used to think that workbench was just where he kept his tools, a place for saws and sandpaper and coffee after school. Now I know it was an altar for the only prayer he knew. Make something strong and useful out of what life hands to you. Dust on his workbench, where the morning light comes through, on the tools he held a lifetime, on the things he meant to do. Just stand there in the hush. There's a whole life resting gently in that workbench dust. Some memories come in pictures, some come back in sound, some are waiting in a garage where no one moves them round. And if love can live in silence, if a man can stay somehow, then my father's still there working in that quiet even now. Dust on his workbench still catches golden light, like he might walk in from the doorway and set the old place right. I leave the hammer where he laid it, leave the saw beside the wood. Some things are best remembered exactly where they stood. Dust on his workbench, dust on his workbench. Some things are best remembered exactly where they stood. last time we drove home, the sun was sinking low across the fields he used to work, and the fences he used to know. He sat quiet by the window with his hands upon his knees, watching shadows cross the pasture like old memories through the trees. I kept talking about the weather, about the price of gas in town, about a tractor up for auction, and the rain that hadn't come down. He nodded like he heard me, but his eyes were somewhere wide, past the barns and past the mailboxes, past the road where years had died. The last time we drove home, I didn't know it then, that I'd spend the rest of my life driving that road again, looking for the words I missed in the silence we had known. I was only taking Daddy back the last time we drove home. We passed the old white farmhouse where he worked when he was young, past the creek behind the willows where he taught me how to run. He smiled at Miller's Corner like it still held something bright. Then he said, "This road remembers," and we rode into the night. I pulled up by the front porch and helped him to the door. He said, "You get some rest now," like it said 100 times before. There was nothing in that evening that warned me it would stay. Just a porch light, just a handshake, just a father turning away. The last time we drove home, I didn't know it then, that I'd spend the rest of my life driving that road again, looking for the words I missed in the silence we had known. I was only taking Daddy back the last time we drove home. Some goodbyes don't announce themselves, they don't break down the door, they hide inside the ordinary till ordinary is no more. A turn signal, a gravel lane, a hand raised in the light, a simple ride you don't recall until it owns the night. The last time we drove home still rides beside me now, through every bend and fence line, through every empty mile,
listen to my father sitting there with me. The last time we drove home, the last time we drove home, I'd listen to my father. The last time we drove home.
The light he left on used to shine above the door. A yellow porch bowl burning when I pulled in after 4. Daddy never asked too much when I came in late at night. He'd just leave the hallway open and trust I'd find the light. It wasn't much to look at, just a glow against the glass, but it cut through rain and darkness like a hand held from the past. I'd see it from the driveway before I saw his face. Know that I was welcome in that old familiar place. The light he left on still reaches through the years, still finds me in the darkness, still dries up half my tears. He didn't have to say it for me to know where I belong. My father's love was waiting in the light he left on. He left it on for Mama when the evenings turned too cold. Left it on for neighbors taking back roads home. Left it on when storms came and the power held somehow, like one small act of kindness could guard the whole house. Now I've got my own front doorway and children of my own. I hear tires in the gravel when they're coming home, and I catch myself remembering what he taught without a sound. How love can be a little light that won't let someone down. The light he left on still reaches through the years, still finds me in the darkness, still dries up half my tears. He didn't have
say it, for me to know where I belong. My Father's love was waiting in the light He left on. Some men build a shelter, some men plant a field, some men give protection in ways they never reveal. He gave me a doorway, He gave me a steady flame, a place to bring my weary heart whenever life brought rain. The light He left on still burns inside of me. In every small forgiveness, in every place I've tried to be. And when the night gets heavy, I remember and stay strong, because I learned how love keeps shining from the light He left on. 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 I learned how love keeps shining from the light He left on.
Daddy read the morning sky like a letter in his hand. He could tell by how the clouds moved what was coming for the land. He'd say that wind means weather, better bring the tools inside. Then he'd look off toward the tree line with the whole day in his eyes. He taught me stars in summer from the bed of his old truck. Said, son, the world feels bigger when you finally look up. I was young and chasing fireflies, barefoot in the grass. He was showing me forever, but I didn't know it then. The sky full of lessons still opens over me, in the storm clouds and the sunrise, in the branches of the trees. He taught me how to stand there when the hard rain starts to fall. My Father left me wisdom in a sky that holds it all. He said, blue don't mean easy, and gray don't mean it's done. Some days bring you thunder, some days bring back the sun. He said, don't curse the weather, just learn what it can teach. A man who keeps on working
finds the light eventually. Now I watch the same horizon from the porch he used to know. I can see his old fields waiting where the evening shadows grow. And when the first star shows up over that familiar line, I feel his quiet answer settling into mine. A sky full of lessons still opens over me, in the storm clouds and the sunrise, in the branches of the trees. He taught me how to stand there when the hard rain starts to fall. My father left me wisdom in a sky that holds it all. Some men leave a notebook, some men leave a name, some men leave directions for the road through grief and change. Mine left me the heavens wide above the ground, and every time I'm searching, I just stop and look around. A sky full of lessons still shines when I feel lost, still tells me what he told me without counting up the cost. Keep your eyes on what is steady, keep your back against the squall. My father's voice still reaches from a sky that holds it all. A sky full of lessons, a sky full of lessons. My father left me wisdom in a sky that holds it all.
I used to think his footsteps ended at the door, when the house went still without him, and his boots worked no more. But I hear them in the morning when I rise before the sun, and the way I face the hard things that he never let me run from. I see him in my own hands when I tighten something down, when I stop and help a neighbor on the far side of town. I hear him in the silence before I answer back, teaching me that steady men don't always speak so fast. He's still walking beside me down every road I take, in the promises I hold to, in the choices that I make. I don't always see his shadow, but I feel what he gave me. Every time I stand my ground, he's still walking beside me. There's a toolbox in the garage, there's a chair beside the glass, there's a porch light in the evening, throwing gold across the grass. There's a workbench full of quiet, there's a road that knows his name, and every little piece he left keeps leading me the same. Now my children ask me questions from the backseat of my truck, and I catch his way of talking when the right words don't come up. I tell them what he told me about patience, work, and pride, and somewhere in that passing down, he's sitting by my side. He's still walking beside me, down every road I take, in the promises I hold to, in the choices that I make. I don't always see his shadow, but I feel what he gave me. Every time I stand my ground, he's still walking beside me. A father doesn't leave you when the final day is through. If he planted something honest deep enough inside of you, he becomes the better answer when the world feels hard and wide. A hand upon your shoulder from the quiet other side. He's still walking beside me, not behind and not ahead. In the life I keep on building, in the words he never said. And when my road grows lonely, I remember what he gave me. A man can leave this world and still be walking beside me. Still walking beside me. Still walking beside me. A man can leave this world and still be walking beside me.